And welcome to your practice. Today we are doing an intermediate creative vinyasa flow with a focus on the shoulders and the upper back. We'll be doing some binds and back bends. As always, if you have props like some blocks, have them nearby just in case, but you can absolutely do this whole practice without them. We are going to get started in toes pose. So you're going to tuck your toes back behind you and sit on your heels. Always optional, everything's always optional, but modify as needed. You can always just come off the toes and sit like that. Close your eyes. Take an inhale, bring the shoulders up to the ears, and exhale, bring them back down. Again, inhale, exhale, bigger inhale as you do that one more time, and longer exhale. Find stillness for a moment here. Notice the sensation in your toes or in the bottoms of your feet or in the ankles. Can you lengthen the spine and stack the ears right on top of the shoulders so the neck is long? Soften the grip on your hands if you have that. Just release a little bit. Feel the finger pads touching the thighs. Soften the jaw and the eyelids. And blink the eyes open. Reach the arms up. Now, if at any point this is too much on the feet, just come off of the toes. And we're going to open and close the fists. I know this is kind of an annoying move. It doesn't feel very good, but it's really good for strengthening our wrists because we're going to be on the wrists a lot today. So we're kind of activating those wrist muscles, tendons, and the ligaments there. So go faster. Go faster. I promise it won't last forever. Keep going. For 5, 4, 3, faster, 2, and 1. Shake it out and release your hands down. Good. We'll come onto the hands and knees. And we'll turn the hands around so the fingers face the knees. If that's too much, you can always turn the hands back around, but we'll move through cat-cows here. Drop the belly, lift the chest, and open up. Exhale, round and curl. And keep going. One more round. And come to a neutral spine, but keep your hands as they are. We're going to see if we can go to a plank from here. Make sure that you have a slight bend to the elbows. Then lift your body into a plank. So again, a slight bend to the elbows so you're not locked out. Don't push through pain if it's too much. Just release. But let's hold here. If you're still here, hug the outer core in towards the midline. For 5, strengthen the legs. 4, 3, 2, on 1, set your knees down. Slowly turn your hands back around and then come onto the backs of the hands. Bring the hands a little closer to your knees. Backs of the hands and the fingers facing each other and wiggle out your fingers. Open and close your fists. Turn your hands back to normal, palms on the ground. Walk your hands out in front of you for puppy pose. If you want, you can tent up onto the fingertips and crawl your fingertips even further forward. Wiggle into your upper back. Settle into the back bend. Engage your abdomen slightly. Then rise back up onto your hands. Tuck your toes, downward facing dog. And shake out your head. Pedal out your legs. All right, bring your feet together. Lift your right leg up. Bend your knee, open up your hip. Circle your right ankle around a couple times in each direction. Straighten the right leg back out and step your right foot between your hands. Take a moment to kind of shift front to back and find your footing. Then plant your left hand down and lift your right arm up. Twist to your right. Turn your right hand around so your palm is facing behind you and you're internally rotating your whole arm. Then bring your right arm into a half bind. So the back of the right hand just goes to the lower back. Roll the right shoulder back. Press into the ground with your left hand so that your left shoulder moves away from your ear even more. Engage your left thigh like you're pressing your kneecap to the sky. Reach your right arm back up. Bring your right hand down. Set your left knee down onto the ground and reach your arms up. Hook your thumbs. So just the thumbs are hooked. Squeeze the thighs in towards each other. Spread your toes on your right foot. And try to pull your hands apart from each other. And you can sort of wiggle into your upper back, if that makes sense. Wiggling and moving side to side and broadening the chest. You can bend back a little more if your body feels ready for that. And then slowly release your hands down to the ground and straighten out your right leg into half splits. Flex and point your right foot a few times. Lengthen your spine as you draw your right hip back. Draw your shoulders back to broaden the chest. And keep the neck long by keeping your gaze right down, kind of inside of your right foot. Now bend the knee, come back into low lunge, lift your back knee up, walk your hands over to the left, setting up for a wide-legged position. Then we'll go into a side lunge, bending the left knee. Press into the outer edge of your right foot. And then switch sides. Bend your right knee, press into the outer edge of your left foot. 2 breaths. Now go to the left again, and if you want, bring your hands together at your heart into a prayer, and then we'll switch side to side. So you can either have your hands down on the ground or lift it as you go side to side. So kind of picking up that pace a bit, side to side, building up some strength in the legs. And the next time you're on the right, you'll stop there. And we'll straighten both legs, put the hands down on the ground, and just take a simple fold, Prasarita, Padottanasana, just 2 breaths. And lift up halfway. Now, goddess pose. Turn the toes out, bend the knees, and slowly rise up, hands to heart, hands into prayer. I know you can't see me, but hands into prayer position in front of your chest. Sit low. Weight is in your heels. Then bring the fingertips behind the head. Bring the right elbow towards the right knee, not necessarily touching. Mine's not. Just in that direction for a deep side bend. And back to center. And then left elbow towards the left knee. Stay low in your goddess. And then come back up to center. Stand all the way up. Reach your arms up, star pose. Warrior 2, facing the front of the mat. Flip your right palm, reverse warrior. Half moon. Notice if you're gripping your toes, Can you release them a bit while maintaining your balance? Lift and lengthen your spine and reach the crown of the head forward. Maybe lift your right hand off the ground. Maybe bring your hand into a half prayer at your heart. We'll transition to standing splits. Both hands down, hips rotate into neutral. Hips are squared. Left leg goes straight back. So the squaring of the hips, even though the left leg might not be as high as you can get it, this will help us get a deeper stretch on the outer right leg and the back of the leg, the outer hamstrings, and to me feels really good. So keep the hips squared for now. Can you dip your head down a little further? And slowly step back into low lunge. Plant the hands, step back into one-legged plank. Lower down halfway, chaturanga, and then come back up to one-legged plank. Put your right foot down, lower all the way down to the ground. Rest your body on the ground. Keep your feet down, lift your chest up, and reach your arms straight out in front of you. So it's like a half locust with your arms straight forward. Then cactus your arms, squeeze your shoulders back, keep your gaze down, your toes, tops of your toes are touching the ground, spreading the toes. Take your arms wide, internally rotate the arms so the thumbs face behind you. Make two fists at your lower back facing each other, floating though. Try not to rest your hands on your back. Then take your arms out wide again and externally rotate the arms so the thumbs face up. Reach the arms straight out in front of you. Bring them into cactus. Then plant your hands down onto the ground. Cobra or upward facing dog, whatever feels right. And downward facing dog. Lift your left leg up. Bend your knee, open up your hip. Circle your left ankle around a couple times in each direction. Maintain a steady rhythm of the breath all the while. And lift your left leg back up. Square your hips off. Inhale. Exhale, step your left foot between your hands into low lunge. Take a moment to shift around and arrive. Especially important because we're getting right into some challenging poses right away today. We want to ease our body into it as much as possible. And plant your right hand down and lift your left arm up. Twist to your left. Internally rotate your left arm and bring left arm into half bind. Left shoulder draws back, press into the ground. Or another way to think of it is pressing away from the ground. So your right shoulder moves away from your right ear. Steady breath. Lift the left arm back up. Bring your left hand back down. Set your right knee down on the ground and reach your arms up. Hook your thumbs. And lift your chest up. And wiggle and arrive. So maybe you try to hook your thumbs the other way, the way that feels a little awkward. You're still squeezing your hips together, so you're not sinking as far forward as possible. There's an element of alignment always, and maybe more of a back bend here if it feels right to you. And slowly release your hands down, straighten your left leg into a half splits. And you can start by flexing and pointing the foot a few times. Then flex the foot, lengthen the spine, crawl the hands forward while reaching your left hip back. Bend your knee back into low lunge. Lift your back knee. Walk your hands over to the right. Again, wide-legged position. Instead of doing side lunges, we'll go right into a fold. So inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Walk your hands back behind you. Crawl those fingertips back. Engage your glutes up to the sky. Bring the hands back under the shoulders and lift up halfway. Then goddess. So turn your toes out and your heels in. First sit low, then lift the hands to your heart. Option to lift your heels here for a little extra challenge of strength. Shoulders back and down. Set your heels back down. Place your hands on your thighs, fingers facing down. And take a twist to either side. So you drop one shoulder and you twist and you press your inner thighs out and away from each other. It's a really great stretch for the inner thighs. And switch sides. Come back to center. Hands back to your heart. And then stand tall into star pose. Warrior 2. Flip your left palm. Reverse warrior. Half moon. Ardha Chandrasana. Make your way there. If you have a sensation of dumping into your low back, think about knitting the ribs in, or in other words, anchor your tailbone towards your right heel. If you want to work with your balance, you can lift your left hand off the ground and maybe bring it to your heart. You want to try not to let your right leg go back behind you. Can you even move it out towards the right side of the mat a little more? Lengthen through your torso. And then we'll slowly make our way into standing splits. Wobbles are okay. I sure have them. So we're doing a squared hip version of standing splits. So your legs are pretty much in warrior 3, but you can drop the head down. As if you're dipping towards your left leg, you're doing a forward fold in your left leg. Slowly step to low lunge, plant your hands and step back to one-legged plank. Lower down halfway, hold 3, 2, on 1, come right back up to one-legged plank. Set your left foot down. Lower all the way down to the ground. Untuck your toes, reach your arms out in front of you. This time, option to lift your feet off of the ground for full locusts and take your arms into cactus. Arms wide. Internally rotate, thumbs are facing behind. Then bring your fists towards each other on your low back. Reach your arms back out. Externally rotate the arms, the thumbs are facing up. Reach the arms straight out in front of you. Remember, you're not looking forward to crane the neck. You're looking down. Cactus your arms. Place your hands down under your shoulders. Cobra or up dog. Downward facing dog. Nice work. Breath in and release on your exhale. All right, let's bring the feet together and lift the right leg up again. Inhale. Exhale, step your right foot between your hands and come into side angle. So anchor your left heel down. Keep your right fingertips on the ground or on a block. Reach your left arm up. Then bend deep into your right knee. Reach your left arm over your ear. So nice line through your left outer foot. to the left hand. Either stay there or reach your left arm back up and bring it into a half bind. An option to come into a full bind. Right arm goes underneath, hands clasped, and you're lifting away from the earth. Hold steady. Slowly undo your bind. Put your left hand onto the ground and come into lizard. Keep your back knee lifted and put your forearms on the ground, palms flat. Firm your back thigh towards the sky again. Press your right big toe into the ground. Come back up onto your hands and lift your right heel up so you can hoist your right knee on top of your right shoulder. Either stay there or go into your arm balance, Ekapada Kundanyasana. Shift forward, lean forward, lift your back leg. Option to straighten your right leg. You might look to the right. From here, you'll make your way into three-legged dog. So right leg goes up and back. Bend your right knee, open your hip. Roll onto the outer edge of your left foot. We'll go into wild thing, but very slowly. So start to slowly lift your right hand up and slowly put your right foot back behind you and open your chest. Now we're going to step back into lizard. Maybe you keep your right arm lifted the whole time. So you lift your right leg up and step it all the way to the front of the mat. Stay twisted. Put your left knee down. Untuck your left toes. Now you can roll onto the outer edge of your right foot if you'd like. Any variation that you want to do here is fine. I'm going to put my hand on my inner thigh and gently push the inner thigh away. Press firmly into the left toes onto the ground. That'll help keep some strength here. And we'll bring the hands back down to the ground. Tuck the toes, lift the back knee. Back of the mat, Skandasana. So sit low, or you can be in a high side lunge, whatever works for your body. You can bring your hands to your heart. If you're able to and want to, you can sit all the way down onto your seat, and you can even take a bind by bringing the left arm in front of the left leg and around, and the right arm around. So we're in a version of Marichyasana, a seated pose, facing towards our right leg. So you have lots of options of where to be here. Do what feels best for your body. We're going to make our way back into Skandasana or a side lunge. So lift the hips up if you're sitting down and transition to Warrior Two, facing the front of the mat. Flip your right palm, reverse warrior. This time take your left arm into a half bind. Keep your left arm where it is in the half bind and come into a half bound, half moon. Lift your left arm up into regular half moon. Put your hands down onto the ground so that you're in a supported Warrior Three by evening out your hips. So your hips are neutral now. Left hip comes down a bit. Lift away from the ground and maybe reach your arms straight forward. So now you're in Warrior Three. And then put your left hand on the ground. Come into kind of a standing splits. Bend your left knee and grab onto your left foot with your right hand. So you're in a standing splits variation. Point your left knee up to the sky as much as you can as you fold over your right leg. And release your right hand down to the ground. Come into a regular standing splits. And step back into low lunge. Plant your left hand, lift your right arm up, lunge twist. Roll onto the outer edges of your feet. Come into side plank. Maybe your right leg stays lifted. Maybe you bring your right foot into tree plank. Let's hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come into plank with holding tree if you'd like. Lower down for chaturanga. Extend both legs back, upward facing down, upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. Words are hard sometimes, you know. Take a breath in and out. Okay, here we go. Other side. Lift your left leg up. Step your left foot between your hands. And we'll come into our side angle. So your right heel goes down, right arm up. The more you bend into your left knee, the more of this angle that we're looking for, the more you'll find there, so that the right hip isn't so high up in the air. You see that difference? So reach your right arm over your ear. Spread your toes or wiggle your toes to ensure that there's no gripping. Either stay or lift your right arm up. Half bind with right arm, option for full bind. If you have a bind, unbind. Put your hands down to the ground, lizard. Keep your back knee lifted. Put both hands down on the ground, or both forearms rather. Firm up the hips and the right thigh. Lengthen your neck. And come back up onto your hands. So option for Ekapada Kundanyasana. This is our arm balance. Hoisting the left knee up onto the left shoulder. Bend the elbows like chaturanga. Lift your back leg. Straighten your left leg out possibly, or you can keep it bent. 3-legged dog. Bend the knee, open the hip. Very slow transition to wild thing. Outer edge of the right foot. Left fingertips. Left hand comes up. Slow, slow, slow. Then you set the left toes down. Without putting your left hand down, can you step back into lizard? Set your right knee down. And put your left hand on your inner left thigh and turn. And put your hands back down to the ground. Lift your back knee, back of the mat. Skandasana. Hands to heart. Either stay or you can sit down. If your body allows for that movement, it's okay if not. Right arm in front of right leg and around, and left arm around if you're going for your bind. So you're kind of turning to the left. You're lifting your chest and spine as much as you can if you have the bind. And then we'll release the hands, hands to heart. Back into Skandasana, and then Warrior 2. So shift forward. Flip your left palm, reverse Warrior. Half bind with right arm. Keep the half bind, come into half bound, half moon. Lift your right arm up. Put your right hand down, come into standing splits. And then lift your chest up, warrior three. So you can either keep your hands where they are for supported warrior three, or you can reach your arms forward. Put your right hand down, bend your right knee, grab onto the right foot with the left hand, and kind of fold over your left leg. So a variation of standing splits, point your right knee up to the sky. Release the foot, standing splits. Step back to low lunge, plant your right hand down, lift your left arm up, and we'll come into side plank Vashisthasana. Maybe your left leg stays lifted. Maybe you put your left foot on your inner right thigh for tree plank, tree side plank. For 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1, keep tree and come into plank. If you want, chaturanga with tree. Step your left foot back, upward facing dog, and downward facing dog. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, set your knees down onto the ground. Sit back on your heels. Palms face up on your thighs. We're going to catch our breath. And feel all of that prana, all of the energy circulating through the body. As humans, we are meant to move. As humans, as animals, we're all meant to move. And right here in this moment is where we can really feel that truth. The medicine of movement. Breathe in and out of the mouth. And we're going to come into a seat. We'll go into a wide-legged fold. So take your legs nice and wide. Flex your feet. Roll your inner thighs backwards. And start to lean forward. You might stay here. You might put your hands down. You might put your forearms down. Keep rolling those inner thighs back. Maybe you walk your hands all the way forward and can bring your forehead towards the earth. Everyone's bodies are different here. I don't bring my head towards the ground because my hips just don't go that way. And that's okay. It's no problem. Rise back up onto the hands. Bring your right foot in towards your left thigh. And then kind of make it a smaller angle. Turn to face your left knee. Lengthen the spine and then walk your hands forward and just grab onto your foot. Take a nice yummy fold into Janu Shirshasana. A seated head to knee pose. And feel free to round the spine here and just let go and relax. As much as you can relax into a stretch. Slowly rise back up. We'll simply switch legs. Your right foot will go inside of your left foot will go inside of your right thigh. And turn and face your right leg. Sit tall. And walk the hands down. And then just let go of the length in the spine. And you can totally round and release. And rise back up. Take your legs straight out in front of you. Then we'll lower down to the ground. If you'd like to do it the challenging way, keep your heels down, reach your arms out in front of you, and try to keep the heels down the whole time as you lower down, and then hug your knees into your chest. And rock a bit side to side. Feels good on the lower back, the contact with the ground. Notice the sensation of the back of your head on the ground. Then take your arms wide. Let's bring them into cactus. So bend your elbows and drop your knees to the right. Lift your shoulders up and scoot them over to the right a little more so you can really get them flush and down to the ground. Put your right hand on your left knee and look over to the left. Every time you exhale, where can you relax a little more? Maybe it's in the neck or the jaw. Maybe in the belly. And bring your knees back up to center and drop them over to the left. Again, lift your shoulders, move them to the left a little so you can really anchor your right shoulder down. Put your left hand on top of your right knee. It doesn't matter if your knees are touching the ground or touching each other. Mine are not touching each other. That's not the goal here. We're focusing on the upper body for the twist. Close your eyes. And bring your knees back up to center. Give them a nice squeeze. And then release your legs all the way down. Close your eyes if they're not already. Find any last little movements. Take a breath in through your nose and out of your mouth. Rest here in stillness. Begin to bring movement back into the fingers and toes. Bend your knees, and however way you'd like, start to make your way up to a seat. Bring your palms together at your heart. And let's bow together in gratitude for this practice. Thank you so much for practicing with me. Let me know in the comments what you thought. I'd love to know who's here practicing with me. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you next time.